So the story we're going to share with you today is a celebration of our Rotary history, and it's a dire warning as well from those Rotarians who lived through one of the darkest periods of modern history. The story begins 92 years ago, in 1931. The third Rotary Convention outside the United States took place in Vienna, 6 years after the first Austrian club had been founded in that city. Rotarians from around the world arrived in the city's capital. Among the 4,300 attendees at the Vienna conference was 33-year-old American William Jewett Fulton, a member of the Rotary Club of Keokuk, Iowa. This small town of 10,000 inhabitants on the Mississippi River is named after a positive-minded Indian chieftain, Chief Keokuk. Unlike his peers, Chief Keokuk did not go on the warpath against white Americans, who in the 19th century had penetrated further into the lands of the indigenous peoples. Instead, he chose a path of negotiation and a quest for peaceful solutions. The Rotary Club of Keokuk was chartered on May 1st, 1921, the 941st Rotary Club worldwide. In 1927, Jewett Fulton became the 84th member of this club. A graduate of the University of Illinois, degree in chemical engineering, he was lead chemist at Midwest Carbide in Keokuk, Iowa, manufacturer of a component in the production of high-grade steel. Jewett was elected club president for the Rotary years 1930-31. It was customary then that the sitting club president would attend the International Convention, wherever that may be. So in late May 1931, Jewett and his wife Louisa boarded a train at Keokuk Train Depot and traveled to Montreal. From Montreal, they made way to the harbor, where they boarded a Rotary chartered liner, the SS Duchess York. They traveled up the St. Lawrence Seaway, then south along Nova Scotia coastline before turning east to cross the Atlantic. They sailed south of the British Island and then up the French coastline to Antwerp, Belgium. In Antwerp, they boarded a train which brought them to Vienna. Now I could stop the story right here and say, wow, what a trip that was. I mean, I was looking at these beautiful buildings. Most of it don't exist anymore. Yogi?
Thank you, Tony.
Each year, in the months following the Rotary International Conference, Rotary publishes proceedings of the meeting, including pictures and detailed script of each presentation. 1931 was a particular dark time in world history. The global economic crisis of 1929 was entering its third year with no sign of improvement. Nations had imposed punitive tariff duties for imported goods as a means of helping the home economy. Banking systems were collapsing. Unemployment and inflation rates were at record highs. Revolt and socialism had fully taken root in Russia. Nationalism was on the rise. The convention committee had an opportunity to address these issues, and they brought forth a lineup of speakers, arguably the most impressive group up to that date and beyond. These speakers put on a warming which was spot on. Here is Vienna Convention program, plenary session included. Disarmament, presented by Nobel Peace Prize recipient and father of the League of Nations and the United Nations nowadays, Viscount Robert Cecil of England. In his remarks, Cecil outlined the cost of war on all people of the world. He promoted further acceptance of the League of Nations and support for the upcoming disarmament conference in Geneva, 1932. Cecil called out those nations who were spending vast amounts of wealth building up their armies far beyond what is needed to defend their homelands. Following Cecil's moving plea, the Rotary Board of Directors adopted Resolution 28. to support by all means the upcoming disarmament conference in Geneva. Tariff problems presented by Yves Le Troquer, Paris. Le Troquer was a French politician, mostly working in national politics. At the time of the conference in Vienna, he held office as a senator in the French parliament. Le Troquer calls for a unified Europe to ensure peace on the continent. He calls out the USA for harsh tariffs imposed on European goods. He calls for the end of custom charges between the 36 European countries. He points to the 48 states, US states, in which trade flows freely as example how Europe should operate. He explains that this is critical for peace across the continent. International aspects of employment, quote, by Abraham Frohwein, Berlin. Frohwein was a Berlin industrialist, producing lace, braids, cords, and ribbons. He was a staunch supporter of the Weimar Republic. In 1931, he was selected for president of the International Chamber of Commerce. When the Nazi party, NSDAP, seized power, however, he was forced to resign. Frohwein gave unemployment figures from major countries around the world, argued that unemployment is the root for nearly all world problems. Voices are speaking out against capitalist systems, demanding a new order. Frohwein argues that the Great War, World War I, has caused this imbalance as new technologies came in so fast because of the war, that when the war ended, 1918, supply easily outpaced any demand. World Prosperity and Standards of Living, title, presented by Edward Phelan, Boston. Phelan was an American businessman best known for building Phelan's department stores and pioneer of U.S. credit unions. In 1928, he was ousted by stockholders from his own company because of his liberal management ideas regarding employees. They felt he was too interested in improving the quality of work for his employees. Phelan demanded his stores give honest description of products they sold and was the first to offer money back if not satisfied. His address explained how mass production caused a shift in protectionism. Frohwein felt that added supply should and eventually will lead to lower consumer prices and raise the standard of living for all. Penn Europe, quote, R.N. Kudahov-Kalergi, Vienna. The title, Worldwide Economic Crises, Max Weinmann, Munich. Less than 10 years after this convention, Max Weinmann experienced an unthinkable fate. He was Jewish, and while he had the means and opportunity to escape, he chose to stay in Munich till he could not escape. Max Weinmann and his wife Rosa committed suicide, April 1940, after having their successful business taken from them and were about to thrown out of their home. They and 5 other members of their immediate family victims of the Holocaust.
In the weeks following the Vienna Convention, Jewett and his wife traveled through Austria and southern Germany, where he made many contacts with Rotarians in those cities he visited. In his reply to Emil Hirsch, president of Rotary Club Munich, Jewett mentions how much he enjoyed visiting the Lowenbrau Beer Hall, an activity that was not even allowed in the U.S. in 1931. He also paid attention to the tensions of that time, the economic hardship and the political unrest that was obvious, reinforcing what he had heard in Vienna. When Fulton returned to Keokuk, he was now the immediate past president of his club and took over as chair of the International Service Committee. You can see here where he's listed as the chair and his committee members. With his European trip in mind, Fulton wanted to reach out to worldwide Rotarians, start dialogues, and build friendships in support of Rotary's sixth object at that time, which is international understanding and world peace. He came up with the idea of getting a hold of an authentic Native American peace pipe. He would include tobacco and a routing slip and would include a routing slip with all non-English speaking clubs on that list. The club would then smoke the peace pipe at their next meeting and send the pipe on to the next club on the list. When reality set in, he came up with an alternate idea. He would send a letter out to all non-English Rotary clubs and the first club in English-speaking countries. 504 letters were hand-typed, addressed, and sent by mail. Here you see the letter sent to the Rotary Club of Paris. Among other things, the letter states, "Following the old Indian custom, we invite the Rotary Club of Paris to smoke the pipe of peace with us in spirit, as our expression of international goodwill and fellowship." He goes on, "We would be most happy to receive a reply from you, as it is our sincere desire to establish and perpetuate Rotary contacts and friendships outside of our country." Of the 504 letters Fulton sent, he received a total of 201 replies from 44 different countries. By chance, these neatly filed away letters were found in a bank safe a few years ago by myself. The bank was about to throw them in the dumpster. I rescued this treasure in 2016, and by chance I met Yogi through Charlie. And Yogi, Charlie, and I published these letters into a book form. We find it extremely fascinating to study these letters against the background of their historical context, and at the same time find a great deal that bears on our own time. It is not possible to do justice to the diversity represented here in 20 minutes, but I would like to take a few minutes to share with you some select letters. Here's the first letter received back. It's from the Rotary Club of Chihuahua. Take notice of the dates. The writer mentions receiving Fulton's letter, and it was posted December 3rd, 1931. His response was dated December 7th. On the left-hand side there, you can see Jewett's stamp. He received a response back December 10th. 7 days. That's, in even today's standard, that's pretty impressive. Next is the sitting RI President, Cindy Pascal. This letter of endorsement and congratulations. You may recall seeing his picture earlier, as he was the chair of the Vienna conference that year. Paul Harris also sent a letter of endorsement. Correspondence continued between Paul and Jewett for years to come. 23 letters were received from Germany. Because of the times and future events, these tend to be the most interesting. They had the most meat in them. Here is a letter from the Rotary Club of Berlin. Yogi, why don't you take over, since I know you've got some, particularly he's kind of attached to this letter. Can you see?
In the 1920s, Japan invaded Korea, stripped the forest lands for timber back home, brutalized the Korean population. Between these activities, they had time to set up a Rotary Club in Seoul, which they had named Keijo. The crown jewel of all letters is the one from Dr. Hugh R. Ewing, president of Rotary Club Jerusalem. Dr. R. Ewing was a British surgeon serving in the Palestinian Mission Hospital. The club president writes as follows: "We have all sorts in our club, about 10 nationalities, at least 5 different languages represented, and we all find in Rotary a common meeting ground in spite of differences of race, religion, and tongue. We have strong Zionists and equally strong anti-Zionistic Arabs in our club, Britishers, Americans and Germans, etc. And they all meet amicably as Rotarians, although acutely disagreeing on most other points. He continues, one of my warmest friends is a German surgeon who, as a combatant officer, faced the trenches of La Bassée, First World War, in which I was serving. So, you will see that we ourselves are a sort of living pipe of peace always being smoked. With that week's event, we have eventually made huge strides backwards in achieving peace. In May 2012, at our book party in Flensburg, Schleswig-Holstein, Germany, we had a district governor from the Netherlands approach us and ask us the question, so, what is all this effort leading up to? We did not have any answer at the time. We were just stunned by that question. We published the letters in book form, hosted a party, which was a huge success by any measure. We sent written invite to each of the original Peace Pipe recipient clubs. We organized into an LLC, will soon become a non-profit organization. We developed a fantastic website, www.keokukpeaceletters.com. Gave presentations, over 200 total, to Rotary clubs and other organizations around the world, 3 different languages. Hosted a peace conference with guests of honor included Holger and Susanne Knag, world president, York Penno, graphic artist Paris, and Reuben Redfeather, a Native American spiritual medicine man. This project has been published in worldwide Rotarian magazines in Germany, Australia, New Zealand, South America. Made contacts, visited Rotary Jerusalem, the Jewish Rotary Club founded 1929 by Rotary Cairo, and Rotary East Jerusalem, the Arab-Palestinian club, which is meeting in the American Colony Hotel, kind of haven of peace since 1880 in East Jerusalem, leading to a potential hospital project. Needed now more than ever. Supported Rotary Johannesburg, Africa 100th anniversary project with 100 mediators. We are planning to have an annual award which will be recognition and some type monetary value presented to 2 persons, each with differing sides of a conflict. Money will go to a project which they both support. Our final word comes from the letter of Paul Harris, founder of Rotary, sent after his review of this project. Paul Harris says it best, quote, "This is good work." At the Rotary Club of Berlin, established in 1929,
There's nothing on, that's the end of it there.
in the Hotel Kaiserhof, that was the second club, first in Hamburg and then in Berlin, and many diplomats were regular visitors, leading politicians like Hans Luther, the Chancellor, the Prime Minister of the Weimar Republic. So that's where mainly Tony did very intensive research, and every letter could be a presentation. Tony?
Yeah, and we've done that. That's what those programs you've seen listed is. We did a comprehensive study of some clubs in Germany, which the Germans kept very good records, so it was easy. You can find lots of stuff on it. And this Dr. Schaefer that published the book, Rotary Under Nazi Rule, the red there, if you care to look through it, you can take one with you. What happened was when the Soviets came into Berlin, somehow they captured all Rotary records which were housed in Berlin. They took them to Moscow. Just in the last decade, Germany received those records back, or Rotary did. And these guys have been studying it and seeing what happened to these particularly the Jewish members that were either told to leave or had a even worse fate. And so that's a program that we've developed. What did Rotary do during this rise of nationalism, not only in Germany but in Italy, France, in Spain, yeah. And then we have a story that we developed with a Rotarian from Slovenia, from Ljubljana, and really an amazing story about how Rotary survived in the Northern Balkans. And then we have another story, it's really tragic, about Estonia, the Rotary Club at Tallinn. The reply back from Tallinn was signed by a Rotarian who happened to be the president of the country at the time. And what happened to those Rotarians is just horrific. And we suspect there's another one in development, and that's the Rotary Club of Warsaw, which we expect is even worse, but we're really having trouble getting a hold of any of those records. Germans did a good job of wiping that one clean. So with that's the base of this thing. There's lots of stories we could share beyond that, bring them to your clubs as programs if you like.